Our next item here is for me to introduce, I call her, I'm going to mess with some of y'all's theology, but I'll say we're going to have Prophetess Star Parker join us. And they're like, why is she saying that about me? All they do. But really, she's a nationally syndicated columnist. She's a real thinker on a lot of these issues. Her own life is a story that she shared a little bit about the other night. Normally, I like to show the video so people can get it. And maybe I'll do that at the end, because I think you need to understand her conversion of her own spiritual life and what took place in her life. As she talks about it herself, she says, she was living basically in a wreck and has had a lot of different circumstances happen in her own life. But she saw that living in the place of government dependency keeps you on the plantation, thus her book, Uncle Sam's Plantation. And so she is really, when I say that, kind of almost, putting the title on her, I think she's avant-garde and before her time in thinking about some of these issues and seeing really the place and the uniqueness of the church and pastors in this whole process of really curing the ills in our city, curing the ills in our country, and making sure we maintain our role to really make a difference. I'll say this one story. I'll never forget this story, and some people in this room might know about it, but I remember going to work on an issue, and this isn't necessarily related to Star, but this is where she really funnels right in. I remember going to work on an issue actually in D.C. and trying to convince the city council on some stuff just to take up a vote, just to kind of get this thing moved. And those guys, one by one, sat there and said, the church is irrelevant and we don't have to listen to y'all no more. Oh, this is straight to our face. This was not, maybe I'll kind of put it on the carpet. Maybe I'll just kind of send a little silent message. Maybe I'll be covert. No, this is what they said to our face. And they said, y'all need to go back over there around the corner and eat your fried fish and eat your chicken and go ahead on and go home, because y'all don't have no voice here no more. And I was, it was like somebody punched you in the eye, punched you in the gut. And I realized, I said, man, what have we become, and but here's the thing. Not the demoralizing aspect of what have we become, but I thought about it from this perspective. What power and potential we still have, and what influence did God give us? And so when I met Star some time ago, if you hear the story of how she has tried to get pastors along and tried to influence, what I saw is somebody who said, you know what, she still believes in the power of the church. She still believes in the ability, influence of pastors in their city. She believes that you can make a difference. She believes that you can help change lives. And a large portion of that is her life was changed by pastors and really spoken to. And you heard even at the beginning night, the influence of Bishop Stewart in her life early on to really help shape her on some of those things. And she's an avid reader. She's an avid thinker. And, she's an avid opinion person. But, what I like is she'll challenge us, and she'll challenge you. She'll challenge your thinking. And if you got a problem with challenging, go ahead, go read yourself. Go think about some stuff. Make yourself not be offended, but make yourself be thinkers. And try to crunch through things that you need to really crunch through, because it makes impact and a difference in our lives. And so she's relentless in pushing and pursuing for truth, and relentless in pushing and pursuing to get better. And so I appreciate her, I honor her, I welcome her, and I just say, let's welcome Star Parker, the president and founder of CURE.
The only challenges that I told her the other day, Lord has shown me something really unique inside of the I Have a Dream speech. Because on the last, I'm gonna say 6-7 months, when we were in this branding seminar, he showed me a new aspect of our 30-second elevator speech to define cure. So I broke it down into 3 P's, 3 C's, and 3 P's. I said we do 3 P's, we promote, we protect, we preserve. 3 C's, Christianity, capitalism, and our Constitution, to do 3 P's, or in 3 P's, in the public square, in public policy, and in poor communities. And I said, now this is interesting because the Lord is showing me in the I Have a Dream speech that it's categorized in 3 areas. That it talks Christianity, that it talks capitalism, that it talks the Constitution. And it's in 3 different spaces. The first space is in the Constitution. It's about the first quarter of the speech. He came to Washington and spoke to the country to get back on track of your founding principles. The second part, he speaks to the people. So he's talking to the people about empowerment, economic mobility. The only way that we're going to be free is if we go and take that individual uniqueness that he has given us, the Lord has given us, and go do something. It's one of the reasons that we believe very much in mobility, and we want the government out of the charity business here in Washington, D.C. Because we believe that in order to have mobility, you have to have a limited role of government so that you can have movement to where you want to live as a free person, so that you can have movement for where you want to be educated or your children educated, so you can have movement for where you want to work. You have to remove barriers for all of that. That's all rooted in the concept of capitalism. Not socialism, capitalism. You saw that the first day. And then he goes into the third part to talk to the Christians, because he went now to the people. He said, guys, everybody in the country. Oh, wait, before that, he gets toward the end of talking to the Negro, and he said, it's going to be tough now, but we're going to do this. And then he goes back to the people and says, look, I've had a dream. This is going to happen. The soft way or the hard way. But it's going to happen, and I've dreamed it. And so he talked to the Christian. And it was just fascinating to see that the very things that I have been talking about are right there in the instruction for where we lost our way. Because 11 months after he made that incredible dream, speech, right here up the street. In fact, I was over there the other day, went there and stood right there again where he said, went into and read again Abraham Lincoln, because Lincoln's right there looking down at where he spoke to the rest of the country. And when you think about it, on this side in Abraham Lincoln Memorial, if any of you don't have anything else to do later on, just go reread his first inaugural, which was pretty complacently telling us that things will be okay. He wasn't the abolitionist that he ended up. Soward was. He was the real hard one. But if you read the other side, where he did his second inaugural, it was where we are exactly today, where we can't do it anymore. When he had to open the scripture and say, a house divided against itself can't stand. It was written in red, it was the Lord. He said, we can't do this anymore, guys. We're going to have to make a choice. We're going to be all free or all slave. We can no longer be both. And that's where we are as a country. We're going to be biblical and free, or we're going secular and status. But the challenge for me right now is that I'm telling Derek all of this to say, God showed me something, because we were all at the Civil Rights Museum together. We went into Memphis, as he explained the first day we opened, to why we got this. Remember, the mandate is because we're walking through the historical sites. We stood exactly where King stood on that balcony at that Lorraine Hotel. We did the tour together, myself, Reverend Tim, and Derek. And when we got to the dream on the wall, I told, that's where we lost it. He spoke to the Negro and said, go back to your community. They came to Washington, D.C., established a welfare state that broke our families. And now we are so off track that we're going to have a real difficult time. I'm hoping it's not to where we have to have a whole new generation come in, which it looks like it, because we got a lot of young pastors in the room. I guess I'm hoping that we don't have to die off before that generation of Joshua and Caleb gets to do their thing. So, but the problem for me is, when I got up at 3 o'clock this morning, because he just couldn't sleep anymore, just must have been that Holy Spirit once again said, but you know what? I don't want you to say all that. In fact, your turn, I want you to turn over to the pastors. It's your turn. So I'm opening up the mic to you. I'm not going to stand up here for 45 minutes and speak. I want to hear from you. I want to hear about what you have received. I have one scripture I want to do, but before I do that, I want to thank a few people. I want to thank some of our Cure donors that are here. We have, is John and Sherry still here? Are John and Sherry still here? Our gold members. Here we got a gold member. This is how Cure is possible, because God has placed decent people in quiet communities all across this country that say, if you're really willing to go do the Nehemiah, the Nineveh work, then we're going to get you a boat to get there. Because we want you to go. Because we have enough confidence in the scripture to know that if at least you go to Nineveh, they may receive it. So we have John and Sherry. Where's Sherry? Sleep. Never mind. They're driving all across the country. They drove out to California from Houston, Texas to help on my campaign. We have Tanner Sherwood. Tanner Sherwood is one of our special friends of Cure. We have Dr. Malcolm. He's one of our diamond members. Is he still around? Dr. Malcolm, are you still here? He's been here. This is his first one. We got Dr. Malcolm. You guys, you can kind of spot them. They're the lighter friends of ours and cousins and family. We have Pastor Gould, new special friend of Star. Pastor Gould in the house. Pastor Gould's getting ready to get up to there's Pastor Gould. Okay. And then John and Judy. John and Judy, are they still here? John and Judy are what we call gospel patrons. We have gospel patrons because I read this book called Gospel Patrons, and it was a story of how did Jesus do ministry 3.5 years without a chicken dinner? Where did he get the money? And so, and it actually talks about a lot of gospel patrons, people that were behind William Tyndale when he had to then speak to the king on his deathbed because they were torturing and killing off people that wanted to put it in print for the poor at that time so they could read the scriptures themselves. But on his deathbed, he yelled out, "Open the eyes of the king!" And the king's eyes opened, and that's how we have our King James Bible. But before that, he talked about God's gospel patrons. He talked about Johanna, Susanna, and Mary. And I'm fascinated, especially by Johanna, because we all know her story. And I have her huge in what's no longer my home because the LGBTQ community drove me out of my house last year. I'm in a security protection program now, and so I can't even ride an Uber. But that's okay. I brought a picture with me. But it is of Johanna because we know her story, because now here you have this very, very wealthy woman who had spent up all of her little money, had to keep going back to her husband for some more so that she can go to every single doctor because she kept menstruating every day. For 12 years, she's on this cycle. And so she's just like, I heard about this man. So I don't care how much this little Armani costs. I'm going to go in the mud. And I'm just going to drive, because if I just touch the hem of his garment, something may happen. I keep hearing it may happen, and we all know that story. It happened. So she went back to the big house. She was the wife of Herod's first man. And that didn't go too well. So they just took their money and left. And so that's how Jesus kept going. So we have gospel patron. And we had one of the gospel patrons in here, a couple that I don't see right now, but you've seen them around. And I just want to give them thank you. And I hope that you guys will thank them and appreciate that. That's how we're here. I also wanted to thank our 2018 Summit sponsors. They're in your program. It's really important that I thank them. I want to thank Liberty Health Share, their executive sponsors. Liberty Health Share, the reason it's such a fit, and many of you have already met with them, the reason it's such a fit is because one of my dearest friends in Los Angeles used to work for a very large church there. When I found out that the church didn't offer them health insurance, he was like, why? What's going on that we don't do what we need to do? And then she couldn't work for the school. Another one of my friends couldn't work for the church school because they didn't have a benefit packet. So when we met Liberty Health Share, it was like, well, my goodness, this is the answer to that prayer, so that every church can have a health for themselves and for their families as well as for their people. So make sure that you visit with Liberty Health Share, if not just for yourself, but for your congregation. There are people sitting out there that want to do things in their own life, but they're attached to something they may not be supposed to be doing because of the health plan for themselves and their families. So it's real freedom. That's what the ads were about, this freedom so people can be mobile in the things of the Lord. They had to get up and go places, and when you want to get up and go places, you got to have freedom. The diamond sponsors are people like Alliance Defending Freedom. You heard from Mike Farris. And in fact, Mike Farris is actually staying here. They were having their board meeting, so you may see him walking around. If you do, be like, he sure looks familiar. Yeah, that's him. We ran into him last night. The Museum of the Bible. Did y'all enjoy the Museum of the Bible? They're a sponsor. It was incredible. Heritage Foundation, that's one of our sponsors too. Ed Choice, I don't know if they're speaking today, but last year they were. Okay, they'll be on the panel later on. And our Friends of Cure, Let Freedom Ring. These are dear, dear friends of ours. That I don't know, do they have a representative here that they can just say hello? Okay, so call it. Yeah, you know what they are? They're going out to remember Bob McEwen who spoke the first night? They're all going out to Charlotte. I'll be in Charlotte. I go to Charlotte tomorrow. I was talking to Johns. I said, I think I'm in North Carolina soon. I saw it on my calendar. It's tomorrow. And then until Sunday, so maybe we'll get at least 5 minutes to visit while I'm out that way. And then the Leadership Institute. Leadership Institute is incredible. If any of you have a young person who's trying to think that graduate from high school, going to college, that knows that, my goodness, I can't leave alone media. I've got this instinct. Leadership Institute is where you want to lead them. Because on that hand, the Leadership Institute, as Christian people over there praying, Lord, where are the African American kids? We want to train them up too so that we can send them out so they can be bold too. So that's a good connection for you there. So I just want to thank our sponsors. I also want to thank our Cure team. I need to thank our Cure team. Derek McCoy, stand up, Derek. Executive Vice President. Oh, you know what? I better do this now because I just saw my phone and I had already put that little airplane and the moon on, and then I turned it off because I wanted to see where Judy and them are, and I didn't see them. Okay. Tim Lateef. Reverend Tim, are you in the room? Tim is the Clergy Center Director. Matt Waters. Matt Waters is our... Now, I hope y'all can see them. I can't see them because of that light, but I want you to see them because these are folks that God has sent to Cure to help serve you. Matt Waters is Senior Director of Development. And in fact, for some of you that were telling me that you hadn't been over to our office yet, it's 2.5 blocks straight up, 2.5 blocks to the left on the right-hand side. And so if you want to walk over, otherwise you can Uber over or taxi over for about $5. And I'm sure Matt will be around there because I might or might not, I don't know, because I'm being available the rest of the afternoon for any of you that may be just here. I'm just going to be sitting out there in the lobby. I was out there at 5 o'clock this morning. All kind of folks were in the lobby, including Steve Forbes, so we got a chance to chat too. This is the hangout now for all the conservatives since we're all having our red hand experiences and have to hover together, so that's all right. We don't mind. We're meeting up with each other, teaming up so we can go to war. Latasha Palmer, where's Latasha? Latasha is an amazing miracle for us. All things financial, that girl is tight. I will not be going to jail on anything financial for sure. She even makes me bring her receipts. I'm like, do you know who I am? She said, yeah, and give up the receipts right now because we will cut your credit card off if you don't. Sydney Mentor, is Sydney in here? Sydney, oh, what a smile. Sydney had a grandbaby for one of our board members because she's married to her son. Stand up, Angela Mentor, if you haven't met Angela Mentor yet. Sydney does our office management, so if you call up there, that's probably who's the beautiful voice you're gonna hear first. If she's away from her desk, you'll hear from somebody else that I'll just get ready to say. But this one I want you to meet because this one was like mine and Derek's right hand, and that's Carrie Beliles. Carrie, wave your hand, honey. Yeah. She's the executive programs director. She was married to a military man. He was stationed abroad, so she was like, well, I can have babies and go to law school. So she's got law degrees, so she's really helping us. And we just really appreciate it because all those little details that busy people need, God has sent us somebody. And then CJ, where's CJ Pearson? Is he in here? CJ Pearson? He's our office assistant. We'll bring him in a little bit because I want them to see CJ. Our young man, we're working with him to get his GED. We don't care. He's going all over the country for us. We might even have him secure me a little bit since now I have to go travel with some shadow. but he'll be coming in here. And then Karen, who all of you know. The reason I left Karen for last is because Karen has been serving us in this capacity for a few years now. But a couple of months ago, she's coming in-house. Her first official day as InCure full-time on staff is tomorrow. And she is, yes. I have been begging her to come to Washington, move back up this here way. You know you're supposed to move back up this way. And she wasn't moving up this way. She was down there in Florida. And then God at the NRB, the National Religious Broadcasters, which you'll hear more about because that might be where we see each other the next time before our annual next year. She was doing that event, and God sent her a husband from up here. She left her church up here and went down to Florida. And as she was moving down to Florida, God was bringing her now husband into the church up here, who then happened to be at NRB in Florida. And they'd have married each other a couple of months ago. And so she had to move back up here. I said, well, Lord, thank you there. Thank you, Lord, because we need her here. Yeah, we do. Oh, yeah. So she came out, what must I do, Lord? You done trapped me down, started asking for me, and here I am. And we both have bold personalities, so it's a real good thing. When she says, I got this, I know, good. And that's it, and that's all the conversation. Then we have two that are outside. You don't see them. Bob Burns, who does all of our research, lives in Israel full-time, and LaShawn Barber, who does our blackcommunitynews.com, which many of you are affiliated with. If you're not on blackcommunitynews.com as your regular diet of news, you need to be. Make sure that you get that information. That editor doesn't have to reside here. She's in South Carolina, all of you North Carolinians. She's in South Carolina. Bobby and Sheila, Bobby Little that you just heard from, tremendous blessing, and I'm glad that you got a chance to hear his heart, because one of my prayers, since I've been more in DC than home these days, I do make it home at least once a month, and I love what Dr. Fagan said about the role of the grandmother in her grandchildren's lives, so I'm gonna make sure I get to California at least once a month to see those children. But then church life up here has been complicated when I'm in town, and so I walk down to local Catholic church, St. Patrick's on Sunday, because the white church near me is, they have a big rainbow flag in their window. And the black church in my community has a big Black Lives Matter sign in their window, so I'm like, I ain't doing one of those, so I just go right there. And it's been wonderful, but what has happened, as you heard Bobby say, that they do recruitment. And so by somebody else's hand, I moved back into their lives, Bobby and Sheila, because we haven't spoken or seen each other probably about 15, 20 years, but you know how it is when you start visiting that relationship again, it's like it never ended. And so now, because they do these weekly Bible studies that are very local, but like he said, very private, I now can get that receiving that I need. And they really open the scriptures, and then they have a real discussion about it. So I just really wanted to mention that. I appreciate it. And what's really interesting is while he was tracking and I was tracking our lives to retouch, or even both of our children went in the same sphere, if you will. Their son is an actor in New York. My daughter is an actress in Los Angeles. So we have a whole lot of praying we do together about just keeping our kids pure from that horrible, horrible situation that we have availed ourselves to in the entertainment business. But we're fixing that too. That's one of the reasons that we have 3 programs at Cure. Our clergy program, our policy program, but a media program. Because I read a quote in Forbes magazine that said, you're not going to change the existing reality by fighting it. To change the existing reality, you have to build a new model to make that model obsolete. And that's what we're doing. We are going to run the government out of the charity business. We're going to run the Congressional Black Caucus out of the political business by replacing them. And we're going to take over media so that we can speak God's kingdom. Okay, so now what I want to do is I just needed to get those thank yous out of the way and a little bit of housekeeping. So what I want to do, and hope I can do, squinching, because I didn't bring my glasses up here, and I don't even know where they are. I probably got a couple in there. Okay, but what I want to do, those of you that have your Bible, I'm just going to set the stage. And then did y'all do as I asked to have a couple of microphones? Okay, now, CJ. Hey, CJ. No, darling. They got to see that beautiful face. This is going to, yeah. We got a brother in the house, and you know what makes his heart so special? Because when CJ was delivered to us, I said, well, I've got to define a job for you. What you're going to do is you're going to serve Derek and you're going to serve Timothy. And Timothy took him under his right. You know, you can kind of see the scripture right moving. I mean, when Derek even tapped Timothy, he had just lost, I don't want to share your personal business, but Derek had just lost his dad. And his dad he's a boy, and his dad was real precious in his life. This is part of societal life or family life that I don't know, because, you know, some people, it was so meaningful. We all got our stuff. And so that's my dad, and I had healthy life. It's like the people tell me, wow, God really did a work in you. You got such a wonderful testimony. I don't have that kind of, my testimony is easy, straight down, boom. People that held it, no, that's the hard one. You know, those that live the other part of that song we know, that the Winans did, it's good to know he'll be there when we fall, but it's better to know we don't have to fall at all. And Derek was raised in a household where we don't have to fall at all. Tim was raised in a household, we don't have to fall at all. And so to send these brothers, and then for Timothy to have Derek's dad's name, it was like, okay, Elijah and Elisha, y'all go for it. So now he brings in CJ, and this young man's attitude, he's not even 21 yet, and he's just like, whatever y'all need. And he's just been serving and serving. So thanks, guys, for letting me know that he came in. So y'all want to give him a hand. We don't know what God's going to do with him yet. Right now, we have him in every department. He just floats in with an incredible attitude, whatever you need me to do. So I just really appreciate it. Okay, so what the scripture is, I'm just going to read it. And then we're going to open it up, because I just want to hear from you, because we've got insight in here. You know, a few people have stuff to tell, you know, questions and stuff. In fact, I ran a lady rushing last night. I'm like, I hope I see her again, because I need to apologize to her, because she was like, what about the men? How come they're letting them off the hook? I'm like, I'm not letting no men off the hook. I just believe that men will do anything a woman that he cares about wants. We saw it in the first scripture. God laid down the property rights. He said, that gets rid of the whole concept of redistribution of wealth. This is all yours, but that's mine. Don't touch it. And then he did what men will do whatever. So if the girl will wait for it, a man will work for it. And if a man works for it, then he will marry you to get it. And then he plants the seed, and then you allow the seed to grow, to produce more little hymns, because he created us in his image to create. So we're going to read. Oh, no, we got other people in here. I know we got to hear from. We got to hear from, where's Broden? Broden reminds me sometimes our conversations after we get off. Oh, there you are, off the phone. Oh, you know how in the old days, the rabbis, and they're still doing it. They get up on that hill and they just debate the script. Yep, that's that. We're just like, tear at it, or you be on the phone. Carlton, don't be grinning, because Carlton wake up talking about, the Lord showed me. Do you know about these mountains? Because you keep talking about institutions. God called them mountains. I'm like, I don't know nothing about no mountains. Next thing you know, I got mountain stuff. So if God is showing you something, then let Timothy know that, you know, and then he'll let me know if I need to talk to you, because I just don't want to talk about all kind of other stuff. Where's that pastor that was trying to get me married off yesterday? I'm just like, okay, that's a different one. Okay, so what we're going to look at right now, very quickly, is if you have your Bible, is the parable of the sower. Because that's one of the reasons I think God woke me up 3, because we've had enough discussion. You guys have heard enough. You're full now. The seed has been sown. So now we have to talk about that seed sown. And so I just want to read it, though, to set the stage. And I'm going to read it from Matthew. You know what? Where's somebody? Get my little. Oh, look. Okay, you see the little black bag outside? It's like a little pouch. I don't need the whole purse. Okay. There's some glasses. It should be hanging on the outside. See, one of the problems there's not a little pouch hanging right on the outside of that purse. I done stuck them glasses inside trying to be young. Okay, but I'm going to squinch in the meantime, because I don't want to. Yeah, the orange one are the sunglasses. The black one are the. Anyway, we're going to look at the one, but we're going to look at the one from Matthew. You know, I love Mark, okay? I mean, the brother was darker than me, but he didn't meet the Lord. So, you know, he had to hear it from somebody else. Thank you, dear. And he did a good job. But I might need that one. How come you're taking that one? Because I'm going to have you guys pull a chair up so they can talk. I'm not standing here for an hour. And so, and I like Luke too, and I know that all three of them said it, but the thing about Luke is, he's a doctor. I don't like doctors because they're always so matter of fact, tell you all that bad news and then expect you to just comprehend it. But what I find is that when some, what was the assessor Meyer who talked about, he concludes some of his essay with, when you suffer much, you're capable of yielding much. So Matthew, man, that dude was suffering. He was a tax collector. Everybody hated him. So when he got his insight, he gave us a little more detail. So I'm just going to read about it right now. So he says that then he spoke many things to them in parables, saying, behold, a sower went out to sow. And as he sowed, some seed fell by the wayside. And the bird, where is it, 13? 13 chapter, verse number 3. So he starts in number 3 and then he goes to number 4 too. Okay, behold, a sower went out to sow. And as he sowed, some seed fell by the wayside, and the birds came and devoured them. There's been a lot of sowing over the last few days, so the birds might try to come devour it. So be watchful. Some fell on stony places where they did not have much earth, and they immediately sprang up because they had no depth of earth. That's one of the main reasons I really miss my house. I wasn't trying to keep it up much anyway, so it was the Lord that I had to move out. But I'm a gardener. A lot of people don't know that about me. My roots were in the South, never lived there, but I'll die there. And I even grow collard greens in California. People come, you grow? Yeah, I grow everything. So I understand and appreciate what we're talking about here with this little seed. It works on my impatience and my impulsiveness. But when the sun was up, they were scorched. Those little seeds that fell on the stony places, they got scorched. And because they had no root, they withered away. And then some fell on the thorns, and the thorns sprang up and choked them. But others fell on good ground and yielded a crop, some 100-fold, some 60, some 30. He who has ears to hear, let him hear. Now, I don't know if he's going to do 100-fold with what you receive, some 60-fold or some 30-fold. And people ask me, what do y'all want to do? Why do you focus on the pastors? Because they're learned men. We're only focused on a certain type of pastor, one that believes the Bible. So once you get the information, you will know what to do. You're the one that goes in your prayer closet, and then he's going to show you what to do with what you've done. We don't need to direct you there. Teresa and I were just having a conversation about that. Once she's saved, it's not the pastor's wife to get her fixed. My pastor didn't come get me fixed. All I had to do was go to the church on Sunday morning and Tuesday night. He did the fixing. He sent other people to help do the fixing. But anyway, he said, okay, the purpose of the parable. And the disciples came and said to him, why do you speak to them in parable? He said to them, because it has been given to you to know the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven. It's been given to you to know the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven. But to them it hasn't been given. For whoever has much, to him more will be given, and he will have abundance. But whoever does not have, even what he has will be taken away from him. And I had asked the Lord before, when I was looking at this, I'm like, okay, now how could you take away from somebody that has nothing? There's nothing there to take away. But there is, because we have ourselves. So your freedom, your soul can be taken away. There is something left. And in fact, who was it? Was it Pat that said it, or one of them said it the other? Oh, it was Bob McEwen. He said, oh, no. When you lose your faith, you lose your reason. And this is what we can see in people's lives. And in fact, God just gets into it in a minute. He says, therefore I speak to them in parable, because seeing they can't see, and hearing they can't hear, and nor do they understand. In them a prophecy is actually fulfilled that came out of Isaiah that says, hearing you will hear, but you won't understand. And seeing you will see, and you won't perceive. For the hearts of this people have grown dull, In fact, Bobby was just asking me, he said, I can't seem to get through the Black Caucus. I said, you're wasting your time. I wouldn't try to get through the Black Caucus. They're just not going to do it. They don't want to. Their ears are hard of hearing, and their eyes have closed. Let's say they should see with their eyes and hear with their ears. They should understand with their hearts and turn, then they would heal. Then I would actually heal them, he said. So blessed that your eyes are open. You're seeing. Your ears are open. You're hearing. And then look what he said. For assuredly I say to you that many prophets and righteous men desire to see what you see and did not see it, and to hear what you hear and did not hear it. So you've heard a lot of stuff over the last few days. So if you have any things that the Lord may be showing you, don't hog up the mic all the time, or you have any questions, this is the time. I could just pull it up. By the time he gets over here, I can hide his chair up here. So who has a microphone for some? Oh, Timothy has the microphone. And Timothy will control the microphone. And if you don't have any questions, then I'm going to stand up here and talk about some more stuff. Because I could talk a lot. That's why I like shy people. I love shy people. Shy people make talkers feel important. That's just
Right,
because they really listen
Mic
to
check.
you. And I love it. I have a lot of little shy friends because they help me.
Here we go. Statement here.
Yes, you got one? Okay.
All righty.
And if someone else has an answer, or this is a discussion, okay? It's not, I'm just up here. This is a discussion.
All right, thank you for the opportunity. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Ms. Starr, and everyone else that have put this together. This has been a blessing. Can we just give God praise for all that we've received thus far?
And say your name and where you're from before you.
I'm Juan Wilder, lead pastor of New Life Worship Center with Tim here. He's our youth pastor, so I thank the Lord for the connection. I wanted to just say, especially when you were talking about the seed, and this is just a comment, that right now we're soil. We're receiving information. We're receiving valuable seeds that Cure has provided. But when we leave this room, we're going to become the seed, where we actually have to become contributors and not containers. And I think it's important that we mention that because oftentimes we try to remain in this seat of being a container when God has really called us to be contributors. That if we remain the soil and we don't become the seed, then what are we doing to really change our communities? In our church, we've partnered with Capitol Hill Pregnancy Center, and we do ministry there every month. And we've been doing this for years with urban outreach because we believe in this mandate. And I believe that, remember, the mandate is important, but also it's important for us to also reverse the curse. And the only way that you can reverse the curse is if you apply not only what you've learned, but actually do something in your spirit to go beyond the Trump Hotel and really impact this world. And so I'm just thankful that because of what's happening here, that 1,800 babies don't have to be aborted every day, that if we decide to do what the Lord has called us to do, then we can take all those weapons that have been formed against our community and we can take them right back to hell from where they came, and they shall not prosper because of what the Lord has put in us. So remember the mandate, reverse the curse. Thank you, Cure.
Thank you. Oh, over here, I see somebody over here. Gentlemen, please say your name, because I'm going to try to keep memories of names and faces, because I'm hoping that if you received a whole lot, you will come back and with another person. That's how we're going to double our numbers. Then we're going to triple our numbers. And that multiplication then gives you much more power in this town. And we want that power because we really want to change laws so we can change lives.
I want to begin also by saying thank you for doing this. My wife introduced me to your book, Uncle Sam's Plantation, a couple years ago, and it's been great for me. But my name is Pastor Ken, pastor of Bethel Baptist Church, Wilson, North Carolina. And as I was listening to everything, I've always had a burden and desire to do more, to be effective, so that when I die, there's no doubt that I had a part in fighting the kingdom battles that we face. And as I went back to my room last night, I said, Lord, how do I do something? You know, the Bible says that the Holy Spirit will help you to remember all these things. And God kind of just touched my heart very gently and it helped me to remember some key things. You know, in the parable of the sower that you brought up, Jesus made it clear the soil is the heart. And for anybody that desires to really take what's got here, it begins with having the right heart. And I have two examples. I work in North Carolina. In 2016, we had HB2, which was a bathroom bill. And everybody, biggest thing that infuriated me was they're like, oh, this is a civil rights violation. And it's my custom to walk and pray, and I was walking and praying one morning. I'm like, Lord, this is ridiculous. This is not civil rights. It has nothing to do with civil rights. I said, Lord, would you please raise up some righteous black men to stand and say the same? And then I never forget, like at 11 o'clock, I got a phone call from a woman named Tammy, who with North Carolina Values. She said, Ken, we heard you're a righteous black pastor. Would you like to come to Raleigh, speak at a national news conference, and say that civil rights, that the HB2 has nothing to do with civil rights? I said, yes, I will. And then 2 years out, or just that same year, there was an election. And I was at the corner of my house where there was a sign, and I looked and I said, Lord, I am so sick of that candidate's position. It is not good for our community. It is not good for anything. I said, Lord, I don't know how to run for office. I don't have the money to run for office. I don't know anybody how to run for office. I don't know any of these things. But I said, Lord, if you open a door, I will walk through that door. In February of this year, the Lord led me to end my doctoral studies. I didn't know why. He just said, end it, and that's it. And so I said, okay, Lord, I'll end. And the same day I did, I got a call. They said, hey, the local Republican Party wants to sponsor you to run for North Carolina House of Representatives. I said, will you do it? I said, I will. You didn't know it, but I prayed about that 2 years ago. I said, but I got one thing I got to do. I said, let me talk to my wife. I said, I'm going to call you back. I'll never forget. Most men who have a wonderful, smart wife like I do, who's smarter than they are, better looking than they are, knows a lot of times you can bring something up and it's going to be a squash. But I'll never forget, she walked in the room and said, hey, honey, I got a question. I got a call from Pastor Joe. The Republicans want me to run. They'll sponsor me. They'll give me all the backing. I said, what do you think? And this doesn't happen very often in my marriage. I can be real. She's like, yes, you can do it. And I said, okay, Lord, that's pretty clear. And so that's one of the ways I hope to take what I've been get here.
Right.
And
But
put into
good, because
practice.
people can do that. Yeah, Charlotte did that too. She went and ran for the school board
Amen.
over there in Ohio, and the pastor's still the pastor of the church because he's an apostle. Pastor, that's where you're supposed to be. But when Charlotte went and ran for the school board, she didn't win. It exposed a whole lot of stuff, but she made such an impact on their governor, who is not a friend of the faith. But he was a friend enough of the Lord's voice to know that you better expand that school board out with some appointed positions, and appointed her. It's like, okay. So, but anyway, but there are a lot of ways to serve. In fact, I see Pastor Duggar, because I think that right now, one of the things we're dealing with, and I think one of the speakers later is going to be from HUD, is he still going to be coming by here and tell us a little bit of update on what they're doing over there? But many of you, it's not just the social issues, which are waking folks up, that we're under such extreme attack, and as you've seen over the last couple of days, it's looking really not good. Hey, but when it got really dark is when God really moved. And so I'm not worried about the dark, but I'm just making sure there's some Gideon armies out there, or people ready. Yeah. But it's also the economic side of the equation, and that's where a lot of your congregates are. They're struggling in their lives, and your communities are regentifying. And so when we had a conversation about regentification and now we're hearing all the negative about how this is not such a good idea, and people mad because they're coming into our community taking over. And I'm like, but one of the challenges is one thing is you keep voting for people who believe in eminent domain to come in there and snatch your property from you. I said, but it also, another challenge you have is that it conflicts with the scriptures. There are not too many times that King Solomon repeated himself in the proverb, but on that property issue he did, because he said that, we know that God's for property rights. He is not for that eminent domain stuff, and so all of y'all voting for Democrats are voting for people to take your property. But we saw what happens. We saw what happened in the garden. He told us the rule, and then we saw what happened when Ahab, he didn't mind Ahab was that crooked, but when he started stealing property, oh, no. We know what God thinks about redistribution. No need of pretending we don't. But then there's a place where he says, but if you don't take care of what I've given you, someone's going to come in like an armed bandit. And that's what's beginning to happen. People are considering these communities that have been in ruin forever. Nobody's picking up nothing because it's the tragedy of the commons. No one's taking care of it. No one owns it, so no one takes care. But it's becoming prime property. Because it used to be we lived near water to get the cotton up. But now we live near water because it's water, and people are starting to appreciate water. So what are you doing with gentrification issues? And so Pastor and I were talking about, I said, well, if I were you and your city's changing its city dynamics and it's now going to affect the property you own, I'd go at that negotiation table and say, you want to build on this property? We're partnering on this property. I'm not selling you my property. We can put the church in a little corner, put the high rises on top so that we can tie some of the units to ourselves to take care of our widows and orphans. Are you open to sharing what you, it's a private meeting, but yeah, why don't we let him just tell a little bit of what his city's doing since we had that conversation and he went back and talked to them.
Good morning. Thank you, Star, and thank you for what you do, Kira. My name is Reverend Duggar. I'm the pastor of First Baptist Church in Capitol Heights, Maryland. I've been coming for the last few years and having a conversation with Star, and what I've gleaned from this context as I've been coming. I live in a transit orientation development zone in Washington, in Capitol Heights, Maryland. And the uniqueness of that is that our church is 2 blocks away from it. And so what I did was I took the information I got here, and I went and I spoke with the mayor's office is directly across the street from me. And what we were able to do was to have a conversation with the EDC, the Economic Development Corporation in the county, and they have a partnership with Georgetown University. The students at Georgetown University needed to do a capstone project in real estate to get their degrees. And usually they do a virtual project, but this time they wanted to do a real project. So the county came to me and said, well, listen, Reverend Duggar, we understand what you want to do. You own the block and you want to do some development. They call it cash poor, but rich land. So I said, I'll take that. And so they came and they said, well, listen, we want to do everything with you and for you. First of all, we're going to offer you $100,000 worth of free services to do a feasibility study for you to see if this is a fit. They did the fit, and they did the presentation last week. We have a $23 million project. They're going to tear the church down. We're going to put a new church, and on top of the church will be 4 stories, 88 to 100 unit apartments for 55 plus for our seniors to ensure that they're insulated and protected, as well as the gentrification process is taking place in our town, and so they will be protected. Thank you so much.
First of all, I want to thank Star and the staff and all of you that are assembled here. Being in the public square, God has really been speaking to me about the role of the church, and one of our programs for Cure is policy, that the church has to free the people from plantation politics. And the stronghold for plantation politics I discovered in a current run. I'm in a campaign right now where the left have put in and the union at the last minute, a person opposing me. So I've been doing my work as I believe in republicism, which means government for, of, and by the people. So I've purposely gotten into over 44 school districts to get to know the people, the parents, the children, to see teachers, administrators, to determine their unique needs and opportunities. So when I was getting started my campaign on full gear after Labor Day, one of my friends for over 40 years that lives in the inner city said she didn't know I was running. And I said, So I prayed about it, and God said, that's because you're not on the slate card that's circulated in the urban core across this nation. They mail the slate card to our people, and they expect them to go straight down the line without any research, without knowing for themselves, not knowing the values, principles, or anything, but they expect them to be wedded to that slate card. But God said there's a slate card in heaven. And the church, Cure, has to plant the seeds to raise up leaders for the public square, for public policy, that we rewrite laws and deregulate businesses and education. And so when I was, what I said, well, if I'm on the slate card, he said, go to the faith community. And he said, say this to them. He said, number one, out of Proverbs 14, he said, righteousness exalt a nation, or a people. And he said, those are people that are in right standing and do what's right in my sight. And then the second thing he said, tell them, and it's in Romans 14, he said, everyone will give account for themselves to me. And he said they're going to have to account for every deed done in the body and every word spoken. And he said, you're going to have to give an account for every vote. And he was telling me that they're going to have to, and he said, challenge them. He said, dare them to pray and vote. There has to be a kingdom vote in this times that will change the leadership, not only of this country, but at the local and state level. And I believe the power, it doesn't take a lot of people, but the pulpit has to begin to educate the populace, the electorate, about doing their own research, being accountable to God for their vote. So I say all of that to say we're getting some good information, but what do we do with it? And I'm really concerned about the millennials, and there are young people that are on fire with the Lord, for the Lord, and with him. So I'm saying that to say in this next year, we're going to have to cultivate some people like that gentleman right there that's going to be called to run for city council, township trustees, local, state, and national school boards. Well, we don't want the federal government in education. It's a state thing. But you need the right people in leadership to set public policy.
That's exactly right. In fact, on the millennial, one of the things that Reverend Tim is bringing to the table over this next year is to be able to go into communities with you. If you want him to come, we will. We just went to Chicago. Is LaFleur here? Is Pastor LaFleur still here? Oh, is there? Okay, I can't see him. Oh, there you are, Pastor. Yeah, Pastor LaFleur in his community had some real problems. They were making a front page. 70 people shot at one weekend, and next weekend it would drop down to 40 people, and they actually printed that, look, it's good. 40 people shot at, went back up to 60, went down to 30, and so we went in, and Timothy did a credible job. We did town hall the first day and a breakfast the next day on that particular issue. So if you have issue in your community that you want Cure's team to come in for, we suggest you start it with a breakfast, though. Started with a little breakfast where the leaders come out, the potentials they're your local people. God has tapped in every community people that are already doing the work. They just don't have all of the goods to do it. You know, most of them, the outreaches are small, but they're doing the work. Somebody's doing the homeless stuff. Someone's doing the pregnancy care. Someone's doing the beaten child, the beaten one. All communities have everything we need. They just don't have the money, and that's one of the reasons that I said we want to be strong here, because what we want here are charity tax credits. We don't believe that we should be redistributing, stealing from rich people to give to poor people through a government system that only 20 cents on a dollar gets to that poor household anyway. And we do this through a lot of programs up here, and it's a quarter of the budget. It's $900 billion a year being spent in anti-poverty programs here. This president said, go find them. Where are those programs? And let's fix this. So we're at the table to help them fix this. And so one of the things I wanted, charity tax credits. So instead of sending money up here to Washington for them to take it all off the top and then maybe do something that's not helping anyone anyway, that maybe you should be able to give it dollar for dollar directly to those folks. So in your communities, you want to have us come in, because then I tell LaFleur, okay, so on the exact day that we were there, what was the 30th of the month, now every 30th of the month, still have a breakfast at that same hotel, but everybody put $20 on breakfast if they're getting a value. So now, even if only 3-5 people come the first time, after a while, more will come, because the people that you met over the last few days, they are all available to come in your community. If you're having a problem right now with defense, let's just say, you know, they're getting ready to move the defense there, or, you know, because they do decide where they're going to put this stuff. And if you're thinking, well, gosh, they've been talking a little bit about that, maybe they can bring one of those. We're going to start expanding. Why not in our distressed zip code, so that we can get a business in here? Then he's willing to come. And most of the people, like 90%, maybe 95% of people that you hear from, you won't even have to pay them. They're looking for the capacity to come into these communities. So it's one of the things that Tim and I have talked about. So you want to be able to do that, because you're absolutely right, Charlotte. We've got to train up that millennial. They're looking for something to do, and you can't just get them going and preaching and raising their hand. No, they want to do something. That the baby boomer generation was conditioned to go work for government. We came out of Jim Crow working for government, and that's why 65% of black middle class works for government. And now that's why you can't get them to move too fast on Christian issues, because everybody votes their economic interests. But that next generation, they're looking for something to do, and especially as we are talking about reducing the size and scope of government. The only way we're going to get economic empowerment into the black community is if we get the government on up out of there with their excessive taxation. So I just want to mention that program, Tim, and you probably will be giving them a little bit more information about that in your presentation. But thank you for that, Charlotte, because you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And that's how we want to help you, is by being there with you. But once we leave, we do expect you to continue that breakfast. Which is stay. We did a Drake Hotel. They were going to take me down to some restaurant that Barack Obama frequents. I'm like, now why would I want to go there? They're supposed to be going to just sit there and fight against. I'm not there to listen. I don't even want to hear them. Right. I want to talk to the people that don't agree with them. And so he hosted a meeting there. He said, well, where are we going to have? I said, well, where they have me staying? They said, Drake. I said, is that a nice, I asked Kara, I said, where am I staying? She said, at the Drake. I said, so I asked LaFleur, because he's there, is that a good one? He said, yeah, it's a good one. I said, good, because I want to treat our pastors good. Then get the breakfast there. Let's do it there. And what, you have like 30 people in that room? It was and we even got time. It was great. We're talking in Chicago. Home of Jesse Jackson and Louis Farrakhan and Barack Obama. He got 30 pastors come out with their friends and all kind of other ministries. Say, Scripture said there's 7,000 men not bowing to the bells. So we got to go find them. That's all. Who do you got next? Okay.
Hello, my name is Pat Hunter. I'm Dr. Johnny Hunter. That's my other half. But I want to praise God for Star and her staff, and everyone here. It's just been so amazing. And every time I come, I just get filled up and just excited what God is doing. But I think the number one thing that's just got me excited, I see so many young pastors around in this room, and it just excites my spirit, because we're being able to pass that baton on and let them run for Jesus. And I'm just so excited about that, because there's a purpose, a reason why you live. There's a reason why you live. You know what? God has a purpose and a plan for each and every one of you. And I just see greatness in this couple. And I didn't even, Elise and David, I don't know if they're still here, but God just leaped in my spirit, say, greatness is coming. Greatness. I see God doing greater things in their lives. And I was like, God, I don't do this type stuff. But he was like, yes, speak it. Run with it. And I just praise God for that. Whew.
I need to mention that everything that you received over the last 2 days, all of the presentations, all of the books that were discussed, Tanner Sherwood has said, I am going to make sure that that's in the hand of every pastor. So we're going to make sure that everything that you want, but we want you to let us know, because we don't want to just send it out to you if it's going to sit on the shelf. But if you, my time is up, almost. Well, I got 2 more then. But yeah, thank you for that, Tana. Tana's given a gift to Curators, so make sure that any and all of you that say, just send me the whole stack, send it to Timothy, and he'll make sure that you get it all. You'll get the Marnie stuff, you get the Heritage stuff, you get all the stuff. And thank you for that. We really, really appreciate you doing that for the pastors, because they are receiving, they are young, so they need it. They need it. Do we have time for one more, Derek? You're the guest in here? Okay, who's got?
I got the mic.
Oh, yeah. Can't leave without Broden.
Pastor Broden from Dallas, Texas.
Okay, and then one more. One little one, too.
This is an extraordinary moment, I believe, in Star's organization and what she's attempting to do. Excuse me. What she's attempting to do. And she's loaded us up with information. And that happens every time we come to the summit. But part of what we need to do is, in our analysis, is to examine the causes behind the kind of depravity and struggle that we see taking place in our culture today. Most of you know that this morning they found resin that was sent to the president. 13 attempts have been on his life. We're in a conflict of a magnitude that I think some of us are oblivious to. This is a spiritual conflict that is manifesting itself out in the public arena. And we need to understand the ideology that's behind what we're facing. Because if we're going to be effective in pushing back, we're going to have to understand the ideology that's behind it. There is a deliberate attempt on the part of the progressive movement and the liberal movement in America through the Democratic Party to usurp our liberties, to take them away, and to replace them with a socialistic paradigm. We need to understand it, and I think Star knows that, and she understands it, so she understands the urgency of the hour. But part of what we need to do in our analysis as we look at the problems, and problems are there, is to look at the cause of the problem. And the cause of the problem is that the Frankfurt School in Germany in 1933 set in motion a plan to usurp and to destroy Christianity. For Christianity stands in the way of communism's and socialism's plan to produce dependency and expanded government. This is fact. And that is manifesting itself now in our current situation through Saul Alinsky's rules for radicals. And what you're seeing right now is rule number 5 out of 13 rules. Rule number 5 is to ridicule, lie, cast dispersion, and throw dirt on your opposition. That's what's happening with Donald Trump. That's what's happening with Kavanaugh. That's what happened with Starr. And that's what happened with me when we ran for Congress the same year. They lied on us and talked us and called us names. So we're fighting a sociological, ideological struggle, and the left has won every major institution in America. All that influence us, business, government, media, the family, and yes, even the church.
Well, that's
They've won them all.
Okay, I'm going to need to stop it right there because I just got reminded, and I know you have is it a short one? Because I just remember that we continue this. But there was already an hour that we were having discussion near lunch, is that correct? And that means that, because we do have a panel we have to get to. Do you want to go ahead and make your comment, and then I'm not going to comment again? No, because then you're not going to do it. And I need you to do it because that's Timothy's dad. If it weren't for this gentleman, if it weren't for this pastor and his beautiful wife, we wouldn't have our Timothy. But I'm going to put this microphone down, and then that's the final one, and then Derek can continue the program. Thank you all.
Let the Redeemer of the Lord say, praise the Lord. Praise the Lord. Praise God. Well, I'm so glad to be here and so glad to be a part of this movement here. And the reason why I stood up and want to say something because as a pastor, I preach on the sower of the seed almost 100 times. Amen. But there's 2 points in that sower of the seed. The people who, they asked Jesus why he speak to us in parable. They were interested. And those are the people he said, those that have eyes to see, let them see. And those that have ears to hear, let them hear. And there was another group that wasn't interested. And Jesus said because they don't want to be converted. They don't want to be changed. And this parable of the sower and the seed is talking about the church. And what Jesus is looking for is good ground. Some fell by the wayside, some fell upon stony ground, some fell upon thorns. And I'm so glad that I never like to be on a losing team. Amen? And I am so proud to be a part of this movement because this is good ground. This is lifting up Jesus. And my heart bleed yesterday to see the things what is happening with the abortion and the changing the sex of the young children. It bleed my heart. But we could stop the bleeding. Not in ourselves, but in Jesus. Pastors of all the churches here, preach Jesus. He said, if I be lifted up, I will draw men. He's the way, he's the truth, he's the life. We need the anointing that when Jesus said in Luke chapter 4, verse 18, the Spirit of the Lord is upon me. We need the Spirit. We need the Holy Spirit to affect the life of others. So I want to say it's a joy to be here. I'm glad for Star and all the team. This is a good work. Amen. This is walls being rebuilt. And the people have a mind. We have to have a mind to work. Amen, somebody. So even though some of us might be their foot, amen, that is humbleness. Our prayer will be answered. I pray for every day. I pray for every man, every woman, every boy, every girl. For all the leaders around the world. Amen, that God's will be done in their life. And what the enemy meant for evil, God will turn it around for good. And I just want to say, this is Timothy, mother. Can any good thing come out of North Carolina? Praise the Lord. Hallelujah. Praise God.